In a recent video where I started making the comparison between Genesis and the Enuma Elish, where I'm dissecting and looking at things and analyzing what's going on, I got a negative comment from somebody on that video that I want to address. It's something that's, well, my name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the channel, everyone. Let's just read the comment and then we'll dig into it. I don't want to pick on the person, but I'm going to let the person know in this response right here as I talk to them. I'm going to be using my tone that I would be talking to them if we were in public and they approached me this way and said this to me face to face. This is how I would respond to them. All right, I'm going to read it through, and the people that follow my work, you'll know why I'm going to reply to this once we get to the end there. If you don't read cuneiform, Sumerian or Akkadian or ancient Hebrew or Greek, and instead rely on translations into English, you are not revealing anything at all, except the biases of the translators. The resemblance of ancient myths in the Levant and Mesopotamia and their connections via historical transmissions of myths have long been established by scholars. The two creation myths are a very well-known aspect of Genesis. The mythology of flooding is nearly worldwide, since floods themselves are a common feature for any coastal or riverside human settlement. Most of these creation myths go back tens of thousands of years. All you seem to be doing is amateur speculation based on almost no serious study of history, mythology, or ancient languages, projecting your own personal biases and a modern mindset on peoples who shared almost nothing with you or your culture or beliefs. So that last comment right there is what earned you a video. Alrighty. Let's take the first one right there, the first bullet. He didn't put them out this way, but I did. So there's just four things I want to address here. Number one, if you don't read cuneiform, Sumerian or Akkadian or ancient Hebrew or Greek and instead rely on translations into English, you are not revealing anything at all except the biases of the translators. You know what? Did you think about that, what you just said right there? That is one of the most ridiculous things I have ever heard. Yes, there are biases of the translators, but that is not all you get. Das Auto in Germany is the car over here. Nothing was lost in the translation. Amore in France is love here. What's lost in the translation? Those are simple, but you know what? What you're talking about, when it gets into deeper concepts, that's where the problems start coming into play. But to say you are not revealing anything at all, that what you're suggesting is that everything from the original source is completely gone and there's nothing left but the biases of the translators. That's not only wrong, that's kind of like ridiculous. I got books, my shelves are full of books that are, they're all in English. What do I do with them? Throw them out? I got Korans, I got Bibles, I got I Chings, I got Greek material. I've got all kinds of stuff. And what you're telling me that it's not worth anything. Yeah, we're not exposed to it here, but there is a core of Muslim thinking that says that if you're not reading the Quran in Arabic, it's wrong. That's the only other place that I know that exists. And that's kind of what you're saying, that if you're reading it in not its native language, that it's wrong. That's kind of weird. Do you see that connection? Okay, the resemblance of ancient myths in the Levant and Mesopotamia and their connections via historical transmissions of myth have long been established by scholars. Hey, it's in the material. Yeah, flood material. All the way to the city of Atlantis is a flood story. It goes bad and it sinks. Yeah, it starts out good, it gets corrupted, and then it gets destroyed underwater. It's a flood story. Absolutely. The two creation myths are a very well-known aspect of Genesis. Yes, they are. The two creation myths are a very well-known aspect of Genesis. You can go find Christians, however, that will say there is not two creation myths. Okay, so this stuff has to be talked about. We're doing it here. We're exposing what there is. This isn't the place where I tell people what to believe. Okay, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to just say this is what there is. Okay, the next one, you're right on board with what I got going on, which makes me confused at what you're going on about. The mythology of flooding is nearly worldwide, since floods themselves are a common feature for any coastal or riverside human settlement. Most of these creation myths go back tens of thousands of years. And to address an upcoming comment he's going to make on biases, this is what I preach. We get stuck in our modern day biases and can't figure it out. I don't preach that. What I do is I say that. And I continually try to become the fly on the wall and try to become a part of their material. What is a flood story? Imagine living there. We're going to put ourselves in their time and place 3,500 years ago. We're on foot. There's no technology. This is like primitive living today, except back then it was advanced. That's what it was. And that throughout the year, along the river delta, there would be all kinds of activity. There would be animals that die. There would be fecal remains all over the place. It would probably, at some point in time before the floods came, it would probably activate your gag reflex in some places to walk along there. Where are you going to haul this stuff? Or people burying it? What are you doing? You're hungry. You got work to do. You don't stop. And life is not the way we have it now. The highway crew doesn't come out and pick the stuff up. It's not the same way. Flood comes through and all of that is wiped out. Oh my God. Beautiful fresh start. That's a perfect metaphor for clearing out my world. Myself, my life experiences has become polluted to the point that it needs to be destroyed. A flood comes through and wipes it all out. That's what the flood story is. Does everybody know that? It's a metaphor. Guess what? It made it in the material through the translations. This is the part where you earned the video. All you seem to be doing is amateur speculation based on almost no serious study of history, mythology, or ancient languages, projecting your own personal biases and a modern mindset on peoples who have shared almost nothing with you or your culture or beliefs. This is the part right here that in my lifetime, people like this, or the people that are like, you can't, you're not able to, you don't have this, you don't have that, you can't understand. Those are the people that just get the metaphorical elbows. All right. And I don't want to make the video about him. What I want to make the video about is people like that, because that is going to be something we run into. And, it doesn't matter. You can just ignore it off, but we're sitting here trying to figure out what's going on. And we have to deal with certain things in our life today that they weren't dealing with back then. But there is a common pathway in the material, the templates. And the people like that are not seeing the templates. That's what I'm looking for. I don't need to understand Greek to know that sailing through the clashing rocks is the same as Hebrew going through the Red Sea. I've got that conceptually figured out. There's something at the core that we're looking for that people like that have no idea that it's even there. And by studying and studying and studying, do you see it? The person doesn't see it. You do. Why? Because you didn't listen along the way in life and go, okay, I can't. I was told I can't, so I can't. We're the ones that are not going to be that way, or, just being put down or something like that. In this case, I'm very confident with what I have and what I'm seeing here and what I'm revealing. And I realize it's very hard to see. So I'm going to get that. And I do get things like that with people saying, yeah, that's been done to death. It's not there. Meanwhile, you go, boy, this is tricky to see, isn't it? It's the conceptual reading part that people aren't doing it. There's a cognitive process that has to happen upstairs that if it doesn't happen, you don't see it. That's all I can say. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. That means it's a mental process. If you can't make the journey, you're not the one. That's the way it kind of shakes down. You are the person on the journey. That is your journey. You are Marduk. You are Moses. You are Luke Skywalker. You're King Arthur. You're Jesus. Sad to say. Look. There's one core. One core. What is that core? And just to reiterate, this is the stuff that I'm talking about that's conceptually within a story. If you were to read The Voyage of Argo, Greek myth, about Jason, or Exodus, Abrahamic myth, religious packaged genre, the metaphorical ark. These are the carriers. These are built on a template of a human life cycle. Moses is the person here. They're both isolated out as children. The story contains an element of cyclical pain. In the Greek myth, it is Phineas getting his food defiled daily. In the Egypt story, they have 10 plagues. Now, as the story goes along, these are sequencing at the same time. This represents our life. Well, not many people are going to do it, isolated out as children. Cyclical pain, the reason we do it is because we have problems in life that just keep coming over and over again. We want to get them resolved. This story element is holding that part. Struggle to leave the past. The island of the old women or old gods. It represents your old self. Moses and Pharaoh represent your old self, this struggle, this internal struggle to leave the past. Supernatural aid. This is just knowledge of what to do along the way for the person that's going the seeking. Jason gets Goddess help along the way. Now, what that is going to end up being is higher awareness. You're going to have to employ that. That's part of interpretation we're not going to get into. Right now, what we look at, though, is supernatural aid. Jason gets Goddess's help along the way, and Moses gets the magical staff from God on Mount Horeb. That's when the calling and the denial of the call happens. You must go, but I don't speak right. You can take, it goes. I won't get into all that, but you're looking at conceptual elements in here. Do you see those? That is what we're looking for. They're here. Crossing the threshold. This happens next. Jason sails through the clashing rocks, barely makes it. Moses and the Israelites run through the Red Sea. Both barely make it. I'll stop right there because it gets thicker and I don't want the video to go on and just be about that right there. But that is exactly what is happening. We're looking at the concepts right there and learning how to extract from antiquity something that's been lost. Am I an amateur? Yep. I don't see anybody else, though, that's even remotely doing what I'm doing here. Yeah, the original 3 Star Wars trilogy was probably the last time this emerged. Anyway, okay, well, that's it. Everybody, you pretty much, you're going to get criticism from people and people like that, come across like know-it-alls, so that really you look at them and go, what do you have to say? Anything? No. They just tell you you're not worth anything. Yeah. Watch out for people like that. They're all over. All right. The seeker will recognize them. It will actually feel offensive almost. To me, people can say things to me. They're not bothersome at all. There's certain things I don't know what it was. It was part of a mechanism as a kid, wanting to understand with such intensity because of things that happened at home, having this constant wanting to know and just being completely not finding satisfaction in anything people told me. And at some point, you have a personality and you have, for some reason, a drive to look. And when people say you can't, sorry, you're not going to sit there and go, okay, I quit. I'm just going to accept this. I just, at some point, learned they don't know, they don't get it, or they don't care. So those are differences in our personality that are going to emerge. All right. Well, this video is a little bit different. Again, I wanted to respond to him about some things that he said that are like, no, you don't get away. You don't get to just post that and leave like it's true or not. I'm going to respond to some of that stuff. But also as an abject lesson in just dealing with a lot of times where people just accept failure. You're looking for things and you're at some point you're really on your own. You are, as a seeker. You find yourself walking a path that other people aren't walking. And you're finding things and people will tell you you're not finding it, that what you're saying isn't there. Meanwhile, you're finding it. They're not even looking. But it's conceptual, it's mental, it has to be done in a certain way. Only then does it come online as what it really is. That is, and I interacted with it. So I have experiential knowledge of this material, not simply academic knowledge of it. In fact, there is no academic knowledge of it. I'm sure there is behind the scenes. I'm sure behind the scenes that's known. I'm sure the Catholic Church knows this. And it's just too big. I think what's very important is to point out the incredible uniqueness of this path right here. This very much goes... This is important to know if you're on the seeking path. It's taken me a long time to figure this out and to understand it. And other people do not understand it. People think, you know what, we're all alike. But within their cognitive capacity, they can't grasp something that's larger. Somebody that can grasp something that's larger can also see the limitations of something else. So there's a problem with our connection and our capacity to comprehend back and forth that's just not going to be there. And that's going to be a difficult thing. And you know what? You'll suffer with it. There's a point where we are looking and we find something that in the material that you realize becomes that mentally interactive process to interact with the cosmos and the collective. That it ceases to become all of those flowery looking outward, dress this way, act this way, wear this kind of stuff sort of a thing. It stops. All of that stops. And you become the individual that is the person. Everything is here. The material has that for the people that are like us. So if I'm going to be a Christian, that package has me being a Christian. If I'm going to be a Hindu, that package has me being a Hindu. Buddhism, same thing. The belief system itself keeps me into that religion. Once I find that there is a template that all of them are framed upon, and that I get to that core, I cease being a Christian. I cease being a Hindu. I cease becoming whatever it is that my belief is. Now, I might still live the lifestyle, but what becomes recognized is that there is one common thing, and that is to interact with the memories, because we become a product of those. And this pathway right here is only for the people that are going to be there. Everybody else, you may never see it. For those that are looking for it, it's only for you. Meanwhile, what it does on the outside is what it does on the outside. Control, provide guidance, provide comfort, many other things. But at the core, there is one thing. And it's available, and it's visible. And it's visible in concepts. That's why you need to learn how to read it. When you do, you see all of it is the same. When you can read the Bhagavad Gita and understand that that's Moses on the mountain, the calling and the denial, you got it. If you can't get there, you're not going to see it. And you know what? Let me remove some of the sense of urgency to this. It's just fun to do, and it's fun to understand. What it is an inner path to healing. There's two templates, one based on the human life cycle, and then one based on when we begin the turning inward and start self-healing cycle. That those are the two templates. So after the creation, which is actually not just the two creation, it goes all the way up to the destruction where the flood has to happen. That's the human life template. And then from then, when Noah picks up, that's when the cycles of self-healing pick up. The template, that's when that template begins. You don't have to know how to do that in order to heal. Basically, what it's doing is nesting this idea that we've judged our experiences in life and we're products of those. And if it doesn't feel good, we must resolve them by going in and addressing them. You got a memory and you've got a perception. You must change the perception in such a way, in finding a way to look at the memory until it is no longer existing under hurtful emotional terms. Those emotional terms is what causes your life flow. And if you clear out the emotional terms, it'll change the life flow. That's what it's teaching. And then you might change enough to where your environment is going to change too. You may change to the point that the group you're with, the friends you're with, are no longer the people you're going to be with. It depends how much you change. You will be a moving target. Be careful with relationships along the path. All right, I should end this here. I guess I want to reiterate that I realize there's a lot of people that would say, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. And I will tell them, you don't tell me what I have to do. I know my life, my experience, and what happens in my head, what works, what doesn't work, what's out of control, and what I can do to change it. So you don't know that. You don't. You might know what to do in your head, but you don't know what to do in my head. And I have made positive changes. I don't need to listen to somebody else tell me you're doing it wrong. Psh, yeah. Okay. All right. The material, there's something more there. And you know what? You don't have to read those languages. And when we get into the grid in Genesis, the numbering grid, guess what? It doesn't matter which language you use. 3 is 3. 7 is 7. 12 is 12. 40 is 40. Yeah. There's more going on than naysayers have any idea of. All right. See you in the next video.